this white man absolutely broke this thing down like step by step. And I love the fact that this man is not only educating, but a lot of white folks are not only learning history, but they are going into deep research of a lot of things that will actually interest you guys. When I actually saw this particular update, I was like, wow. So we still have some people like this. And a lot of white folks are really sad because black people were actually applauding him. And I asked myself this question: why are you people sad that we are applauding someone that is doing a good job? Someone that literally did not want to go into racism but break it down for you guys to understand and educate you people as well. That you see these people you're trying with, do not cross the lane. Anyways, hi guys, welcome back again to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Credit belongs to original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, like this video, drop me your comment, and lastly, do not forget to share. And yes, with that being said, let's dive right into this video.
A lot of people ask me, what was my aha moment? What made me change my perspective? And it's when I saw this. So a black person in the United States during the Jim Crow era faced second-class citizenship, disenfranchisement, barriers to voting, barriers to education, barriers to employment, and barriers to housing. Then we had the 1964 Civil Rights Act and the 1965 Voting Rights Act, which stated we could no longer do any of this. We could no longer discriminate based on race. So in 2023, what is the only group of people that we can legally discriminate against? We can legally relegate to second-class citizenship, create barriers to voting, barriers to education, barriers to employment, barriers to housing. If you answered convicted felon, you are absolutely correct. In 2023, a convicted felon is the only group of people that we can legally do all this to. Now, do you believe it's a coincidence that 1 in 3 black males carry this label as convicted felon as opposed to 1 in 17 white males? If you answered yes to that question, let's take a look at what's happened since the dismantling of the Jim Crow laws. We've had a 700% increase in our prison population. We've gone from 300,000 inmates to as high as 2.3 million. Now, I do believe we're back down to about 1.8 million today. We had the law and order agenda, which was an increase in police spending and a decrease in school funding, which created the school to prison pipeline. We also had the war on drugs, which we now know was a war on people. We had the 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act, and we had the 1994 Crime Bill. Now, the 86 Anti-Drug Abuse Act differentiated between rock cocaine and powder cocaine, which we know predominantly impacted the black community. And the 94 Crime Bill created harsher sentences, lengthier sentences, and minimum mandatories. We also know that black people make up 53% of all exonerations, 69% of exonerations for drug crimes, and they're 7 times more likely to be wrongly convicted. So when I seen all of this, I realized that racism in this country never ended.
Good morning, y'all. So I study slavery and the slave trade, and something that I wish I'd known when I was in graduate school doing a lot of this research is that really good history, if you are doing it right, if you are reclaiming the past, recovering the past, it comes with a lot of emotions. There are a lot of feelings, a lot of really difficult feelings that you have to sit with, and depending on who you are, your positionality, as they call it in the academy, on what your family history is, on how much you know about the world, those feelings are going to be different for a lot of people. And something that I wish had been part of my program, or something that I wish people had helped me with, were the intense emotions that come with uncovering essentially the receipts for a mass human atrocity. Right? Like for my book, Pirates of the Slave Trade, I had to look at primary sources from European slave traders who went to Africa to traffic in human beings. And I spent years, I got a Fulbright, I was really fortunate, and got to spend a year in the Netherlands looking at the records of the West India Company, the slave trading company. And I spent all that time reading the words of people who traffic other people for a living for a year. I just sat there in an archive and just absorbed everything, absorbed a whole year of people talking about other humans as if they were objects. And it messed me up. It messed me up. And it made me feel so many feelings. And I felt like nobody around me was able to help. So I didn't even try to go to them with the feelings because I felt like, I mean, my Black colleagues, a lot of them who study the same thing, maybe could have helped, but I'm a white person. I'm not going to go to a Black person for comfort about reading about how horrible racism against Black people is, right? Like that was a no-go. Even I knew that much at that stage. Before I had read enough work, before I had done a lot of the anti-racism work, I already knew that going to Black people for emotional labor about that is not okay. But then that begs the question, like, where do you go? And it's made me think so much about how so many white people have really big feelings about slavery, about white supremacy, about racism, about the deeply racist history of our country. And we don't have a place to process those feelings. Like, your emotions are in a place to harm other people. When white people have emotions, we have really big emotions, and often, depending on where we are, people will prioritize our emotions over the emotions of other people. And so even if our emotions are inappropriate at the time, there'll be people who will support us in the inappropriate emotions rather than help us to deal with them in an appropriate way. And so much of the work that I do now is really holding space for white people to have feelings and to process those feelings, because, as with anything, the only way out of a feeling is through it, right? Like, learn that in therapy. And I think that so many of us don't have access to the tools that will allow us to move through our feelings and into a place of more rational, sort of compassionate care for other people. And I think that is truly one of the biggest problems in our society now. So I don't know why I made this TikTok, other than I want to hear from other people who have experienced this, or who are working on this. Like, how did you move through your feelings, and how do you help other people move through their feelings? So if you're still here, thank you, and leave your comment below.
People don't think they're racist because white people don't understand racism fundamentally. White people think that to be racist, you have to be out hate criming. You have to explicitly be saying you don't like XYZ minority group. You have to be saying you think white people are better. And this level of binary thinking is extremely comfortable for white people because most white people aren't out hate criming. Most racist people aren't out hate criming or explicitly saying they hate minority groups. It's a little bit more subtle for most racist people. Obviously, there are some people who do say that, but that is the exception, not the rule. This goes for both sides of the aisle. Like, during the election, people kept saying, not everyone who voted for him is racist, but all the racist people did vote for him. Completely incorrect. Reverse that. Everyone who voted for him is racist. You cannot vote for that without being racist. However, not all racist people voted for him. And that is harmful to say, because that perpetuates this narrative of, like, or this trope of, I have a Black friend, I can't be racist. I voted for Kamala Harris, I can't be racist. I vote for the people who support the minorities. I'm obviously not racist, and I don't need to do any further work to prove that. Sophia Coppola is obviously conservative, and conservative racism is a little bit more explicit, but they don't think it's wrong, and they don't think they're racist because they know that racism is a bad word. That's bad. Racism is wrong. So I'm not racist. I don't hate minority groups. I just don't think that inequality is an issue. I just don't think it's wrong. I just don't think microaggressions exist, right? That's not racist. That's just how they frame their world, and that's comfortable for them. And if there's anything white people cannot give up, it's comfort. Do not make white people uncomfortable. Oh my God. Oh my God. And that goes for the left too. I personally have to work every single day to deconstruct systemic racism within myself, within the people around me, within the world that I exist in, the context, right? And I have to be constantly thinking about that because racism is so deeply embedded in our society, in our psyches. But a lot of white people on the left don't feel the need to do that because they're doing their part. they're not voting for racism, so they're not racist. If they don't learn about microaggressions, then they don't have to acknowledge that they exist, and they don't have to call themselves or their friends out for doing them, right? If they call people out for saying the M word, if they go, hey, don't say that, that's doing their part. It would be really uncomfortable for them to have to learn about the way that white supremacy exists in our society. And they don't want to be uncomfortable. Don't make them uncomfortable. Don't fight white supremacy. They're going to hate it. And this isn't an excuse at all, but this binary view of racism isn't helpful, and it's not productive to think that like everyone who's racist knows it and says like, I hate minorities. It almost views it in the same lens that they view it. Racism is never okay on any level, but it isn't a binary thing. It's not lacking in nuance. Like, there is a lot of nuance. There's no justification, but there are different types of racists. There are different understandings of racism, and to not acknowledge that does us all a disservice.
So decades of colonization, segregation, slavery, and discrimination were all just a warm-up so the black people could be the real racist. Excellent analysis there, Professor. Reverse racism is not a real thing. The people we have oppressed are allowed to be upset with us oppressing them. That is a hard pill to swallow, but is not racism. Sorry, try again.
The way a white person talks about people of color when they're angry is what shows their true colors. Prior to Trump's presidency, it wasn't in style to be racist, and actually it was looked down upon. White people realized that they could lose their jobs, and so they became better and better at hiding it. And because of this, the only way that they would reveal their true feelings is when a person of color makes them angry. For instance, take a look at this video with Charlie Kirk.
I live like a capitalist every single day, Shank.
And I would say this phenomenon is pretty common among white people. They might seem like they're okay until someone makes them upset, and then they result to slurs, name calling, etc. It's something you see a lot in comment sections as well. And essentially what's happening is that the more threatened they feel, the more they need to lash out. They're so used to being in power and respected all the time that when a person of color, quote, steps out of line in their eyes, then they immediately feel the need to retaliate. And sometimes it's just verbal assaults, like calling somebody slurs, and other times it actually does lead to physical violence. This is just a reminder that the only way to see how some white people feel about you truly is when they're angry. And if they get really out of line, even if they apologize, you should absolutely not be friends with this person because they clearly do not value you or your life.
Anyways, that is all I got for this video, and I'm happy and I'm excited that we have some people that their not is still correct for them to be using the opportunity to educate their fellow people. Honestly, one thing people don't know is racism is even more than pandemic as far as I'm concerned. But a lot of them just use it as an opportunity that, okay, they are trying to make their voices being heard. They don't need anybody to come and distract them and so on and so forth. But I just feel like it will come to a point whereby these people will literally, some of them are already regretting, right? Some of them are literally regretting every single act that they are doing. But I know that a lot of them are not even regretting. I think there's a man I saw, not I think, there was actually a man I saw. I think I've done this video before where he literally said that this was actually the reason why he actually have to stop being a racist. Because he have looked to the east, west, north, and south, and he has found out that at the end of the day, these people did not offend him. These people did not do anything wrong to him. It is just the mindset that he grew up with. Do you get? And now I'm happy because if you check the second clip, where you literally see this woman talking about how she actually studied Black history, what really went wrong, and so on and so forth. A lot of them have been going into deep research. And yeah, it is okay for them to go into deep research. But nobody should be angry that we are actually applauding people that are trying to promote peace and unity. White folks, do not be angry. Because some of you are angry to the point that if you go to this man's comment section, a lot of them were like, you're a white person. Why do you need to actually speak about this? Why not speak it in favor of your fellow white people? And I feel like this is one of the problems that a lot of them have, trying to cover up a lot of things, even when they knew that it is true. And that is why even the white supremacy knew that even what they are sitting on today is just on the black sweat, Black people's building, Black people's everything, Black people's money that they are literally sitting on today. And that is why when anything want to happen, the first thing Black people will always tell you is, This is the direction you're supposed to take. And once anybody refuses to take the direction, they just go ahead and leave them to do what they think they know how to do best. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section. Credit belongs to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking my video, subscribing, commenting, sharing. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you that is actually sending me super thanks. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are the best and you guys are so dear to my heart. But let me know what you think in the comment section. This is just for educational purposes. I stand a chance to be corrected. And this is not me bashing any community, please. I don't have the strength to bash anybody. But I'm bringing my own opinionistic opinion. Subscribe, like, comment, and share, guys. And yes, with no further ado, once again, I do like I say in my videos. I'm going to be saying bye and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye, guys. I love you guys. Mwah.